So now we're gonna be going over the compensation agreement, seller's broker to buyer's broker, because there's a different compensation agreement. There's two.
Okay.
This one's the seller's broker, it's a buyer's broker. Okay, so here we put the seller's broker, which in this case we're using 13631, which is this property. The seller's broker would be found right down here, right down here. So you copy and paste it and put it here. Now the buyer's broker, let's say we're representing the buyer, okay? We're gonna represent the buyer, so we're gonna put our
Okay.
our brokerage's name, okay? Now,
Okay. Done.
usually you're gonna be filling out this agreement when you're representing a buyer. Okay, usually the buyer's agent's the one that's going to fill out this agreement and send it to you with the offer. Okay, in this case, let's say we're representing the buyer, right? And let's say we're buying a property. In this case, we're using this property as an example, and Esteban is the listing agent as well. But let's say he's not the listing agent. Okay, he's not the listing agent for the property that our buyer is buying, then the broker's name is not going to be Realty One Group Evolution. It's going to be the listing agent's broker's name. Okay, so let's see, which is currently what's happening. Esteban is representing a buyer, some buyers, right? And he's but he's not the listing agent. The listing agent is this guy, Jose Carnero. So we're gonna go ahead and put here for seller's broker, his broker's name. Okay. So Realty One Group Evolution is always going to be the buyer's broker if we're representing the buyer, but the seller's broker is not always going to be Realty One Group Evolution because sometimes Esteban is not going to be the listing agent. Regardless, the seller's broker, you're always going to find it in the listing. If you scroll all the way down into the agent office information and right here next to the office, not the number, just the name of the broker. Okay. The property address is automatically inputted if you put the property information into the form simplicity transaction from before. The buyer's name, let's say his name is Esteban Reyes. We're gonna put the term. We're always gonna do 60 days unless he tells you otherwise. Buyer's broker compensation. The compensation. That just depends on what he tells you. What the listing agent said the compensation was. So let's say it's 3%, you're gonna put 3% here. If they tell you 2%, you're gonna put 2%, and that's all okay. So for now, let's leave it at 3%. Let's say that the listing agent said that the buyer's broker is getting a 3% commission. We're gonna put 3%. That's it. That's it for this contract, and that's it. Just the seller's broker has to sign it. Meaning, in this case, let's say we're talking about this transaction. Jose Carnero has to sign it, or his broker has to sign it. And then here the buyer's broker, which is either Esteban or Janine, has to sign it here and date it. Okay.
Okay, so like
I want to make it clear, okay? This first part. Let's say we're actually talking about this property, which is this transaction right here. The seller's broker is going to be whatever you scroll down in the listing and you see right here. For this listing, Esteban is the listing agent, so he would be the seller's broker as well, and the buyer's broker. Okay. But Esteban, usually when he's dealing with buyers, they're not usually his own listings. So it's not always going to be Realty One Group Evolution as the seller's broker. That's why I wanted to use this other example of this other transaction, because this is an example that happens more consistently which is that he represents the buyers, so he's the buyer's broker, meaning it's Realty One Group Evolution, but the seller's broker is going to be different. It's going to be whatever is on the listing. When you scroll all the way down, agent office information, right here, this name, okay? I know you have that clear now. And that's it. You save it, and then you go ahead and you send it out for signature.